Welcome back to the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45, and this evening we have Edwin in the building. I did say that right?
You did. Hey, Rex.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks,
my
man.
bad. Usually I ask how people want to be addressed.
And Edwin, slow guy at the track. I don't know.
Oh, come on, man. So yeah, man, welcome to the show. It's funny because we're talking like we know each other really well, and we just met at the track Spicy's track day in Jersey. We put it next to each other, and pretty much been chopping it up. But we'll get all into that and tell people about that. So welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm real excited to be on the show, and I want to thank you for having me on. I remember we hung out at the track and just cool vibes all around, and we just happened to have the same bike too, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. That was that part was definitely cool.
Yeah.
And they're fun bikes. So that makes it even better. So we'll get caught up with your latest bike and all that. But let's talk about how you got into riding. What was it like for you? For me, I started riding about 13 years ago. Always wanted to as a kid, but didn't get the opportunity until I grew up and could buy my own bikes. How did you get into riding, man?
So back in we moved from we lived in New York in Queens, Forest Hills, and back in the day, and you know how old I am already. That'll come out at some point. But we moved from New York to California around 1981, and I was into riding bikes. And when we got to California, I was into BMX racing and jumping, and we had railroad tracks by us in Long Beach, and we would jump the railroad tracks and got into. Then I saw these guys running around on dirt bikes just on the street, and I was only 16 at the time. So one guy had one of them YSRs, 50s. Mm-hmm. There's other 50s, other bikes. So they let me try it out. But one thing my dad told me is, you are not riding ever. You're never riding a motorcycle.
Oh, and man.
Fast forward, man, I found a picture of my dad sitting on a Harley with my grandpa. And I said, okay. Well, cool thing when I started riding around with my friends, we had helmets on, so I would pull up next to my dad at a stoplight in Long Beach, and he wouldn't know it's me.
Oh my! But did he know you owned a bike?
No, I didn't know. He didn't know. I just kept it at my friends. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But leaving New York in '81. I mean, was it more the New York vibe back then? I mean, I gotta assume New York was crazy, like how Boston was getting crazy back then. And we're in New York. Were you?
So we were in Forest Hills first, and then we went to Huntington. My dad was in the military. He's a veteran, Air Force, and I am also. And we ended up moving to Long Beach, California, because my dad got a new job at McDonnell Douglas with the B-1 bomber program. So that's how we ended up over there. And that's when I got into riding and started up. You know what? I should go racing. So I started racing the YSR, and I had a good time on that. I got third on my first race, which is pretty cool for a kid,
Right. And I'm glad you finished with saying you're a kid, because I'm like, okay, like you saw guys racing, and you had to get a bike, so I assume you got a job or something, and you didn't tell your parents about this, and like, what was that like? I mean, what was that process like? And I assume you had friends that had bikes.
They all had bikes. We lived in Long Beach, South Long Beach, and what we'd do is we'd keep it at my friend's garage, and we'd ride our pedal bikes. I'd tell my dad, "Hey, I'll see you tonight," and we'd ride over there, and then we'd get on our little mini bikes and go, and we'd race each other. We'd actually time each other. It was like we were racing, but unsanctioned, of course. But it was fun. Right. It was dangerous as heck, too. I can't believe I'm still alive. I mean, right? When you're a kid, you're fearless. So
yeah. And so, did your dad ever know that you had a bike when did you ever fess up, or he caught you? Or?
Yes. Later on, when I got in the Air Force in the 90s, I started racing Willow Springs Motorcycle Club in California, Rosamond. And I invited my family, and I invited my dad and everybody. And he goes, "What do you mean you're racing?" I said, I race bikes, Dad. I'm a jet mechanic, but I also race motorcycles. So
Wow.
it came out there. I was on an R6. Also, I was on the FZR. But when they came out, I didn't invite them back because when your family's there, you want to look good. So I tried to go a little faster.
Oh, is that?
It didn't work out. I crashed. Came back, and I remember my niece said, "Where's Uncle Edwin?" And I came back in the crash truck. I was smiling, so I didn't invite them to my races anymore.
Oh, well, I think you can invite them and not try to ride out a character.
Yeah. I thought I could win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you talked about the unsanctioned races. When did you start going to the track? And was that like?
So around, the early 90s when I started getting serious about it, got on an, FZR, got on a VFR 400RR, which is that Honda with single side swing arm. I love that bike. I can't believe I sold it, but started racing and then got into the 125s, got into the 250s, graduated to 600s. And around that time, it was some of the guys on the track were coming up. It was like Bobby Fung, Melissa Paris, who's married Josh Hayes. She was on the track. A lot of fast people. And so I learned a lot. And got up to the 1,000 class, but then I could, being a privateer, I couldn't afford the tires all the time.
Right.
Went back 600s. I had a good time. I won some races, did the 300 class for the Ninja bike rentals. So basically raced everything at Willow, raced at Laguna Seca, Button Willow, just all over the place. And I loved riding. That's all I did. And never got to the point, Rex, where I was like, I hope I get sponsored one time. So I had this kids program and approached Honda, approached Jack's Pacific, and actually Honda said, "Hey, we'll give you a couple of bikes and see how you do." And
wow.
It was cool because obviously I wasn't, you would have heard my name by now, but back then I was going pretty good, but it was more about the kids then, and the bikes were cool. You got some bikes from Honda, some the fluids and everything, and it was neat to be sponsored, but not totally. It felt good. So I got a taste of it, but then when I was in the Air Force, it got moved around a lot, so I didn't get to stick to it. But I always raced wherever I went, so it was nice.
Wow. Okay. So you always kind of just found tracks at different places. So let's talk about the vibe of what it was like then racing in the 90s in California. I mean, Laguna Seca is an iconic track. Button Willows. Everyone that's into motorcycles in the U.S. is on a track. That go to a track knows about that track. What was the vibe like then?
So back then, it's so different now. Obviously, you're still racing, but back then it was. I think the camaraderie was a little bit different because I felt like I got a lot of help. A lot. Like if I needed something, a part or whatever, I just walk over to somebody in the pits and, "Hey man, I got that part. I got the same bike," and it wasn't about bartering. They just give it to you.
Right.
Yeah, and it was neat. I still feel the same thing in some of the places I go, but I think it's changed over the years as far as that. And I do miss racing. In fact, because of you, I might go back.
Oh well, welcome
back, I want to
be
forever. I want to be forever cool too, but it won't be on the Panigale. Yes, I'll tell you.
I hear you there.
I brought my wife to a lot of my races, and we just became this really cool couple, just going to the races a lot. And I didn't care if I win or lose, crash. It was just good to be there. And I missed that part all the time. Every 2 weeks I was at a track or somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Now, Laguna Seca, one of my favorite tracks ever. And the corkscrew, of course. It's just smooth. And I like going there because that's when MotoGP was racing there still. And, one of my favorite racers, Wayne Rainey, right there. And Nicky Hayden, of course.
Right.
Rest in peace. And yeah. So as far as the vibe back then, I'll say I enjoyed it a lot of how people were just coming together. And when you race, it was so fun. You probably feel it now, but I love just going down the street and looking at my buddy and saying, "Oh, I'm not touching the brakes." "Yeah, you are." or shut them. We used to shut each other off too.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
I've heard about it, and I've seen some stuff on online. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had Paul Duvall from Cycle Smith track days up. You might know Paul up from the East Coast. But they were talking about Loudon back in the '90s, and they used to just Frankenstein the bikes and just just go out.
That's right. Oh yeah, just put stuff together. The FZR I had that was a Frankenstein bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got in trouble. During that time too, I was stationed at Travis Air Force Base up by Sacramento, California.
Mm-hmm.
So Sears Point was another track that I raced at a lot, and also raced around on the street at Lake Berryessa.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been to that.
No, I have not. I've been to California, but I haven't.
I actually crashed at Lake Berryessa. That's when I think I told you the story at the track. I was following my friend. Yeah, I was following my friend, and he had his girlfriend on the back. And I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate. Yeah, I know you're like. So we're headed toward the turns, and we're doing really good. And I'm looking at her, check her out. And I guess I target fixated, and then all of a sudden I wasn't on the bike anymore. I hit the mountain, and my friend's like, "What happened, dude?" I'm gonna be honest with you. So I told him. He goes, "Oh, okay, that's cool. You all right?" So anyway, that's one of my funny stories.
Listen, I've tried to impress people when I was a kid trying to wheelie and nearly bust my head open, and I realized I have to focus on what I'm doing and not get distracted. And try not to.
Well, I don't do that anymore because I don't ride much on the street. I think anymore. We talked about this. And
well, let's talk about that some more. Not riding on the street, and we'll get to that because I think we're like in the '90s, and so you left California at some point because of the Air Force and stuff. And so where did you land next? And what let's talk about those tracks. And were you able to just take your bike with you when you moved, or did you kind of have to sell off and then rebuy? Like
a lot of the stuff I did in California when I got moved around to different bases, it was mostly in California. But if I came east, I knew some Air Force buddies, and they'd lend me a bike, and I'd do track days or something like that. So I was always on a bike. Always commuting on a motorcycle. I had the Honda Interceptor at one time. I had a lot of bikes. My wife's like, when you go on this thing, you should tell them you've owned at least 30 motorcycles in your lifetime.
Wow.
And I said, she goes, you should write it down. I go, I'm going to do that. But she's right because she knows it's her money too.
Right. Go, there's
thanks, man.
Let's hear it. I mean, you mentioned up to the R6 and the Interceptor. So, was it more just race bikes, street bikes, and race bikes?
It was all of them. Like you had 6 bikes. I had at one point 8 to 9 motorcycles at a time, and maybe half of them were race bikes. The rest were street bikes, and I was doing stupid stuff too. I'm gonna admit it. I used to do Angeles Crest Highway. My first Ducati I bought in 2003 was a Monster 620 IE. You ever heard that one?
Yeah.
Bought it Pro Italia in California.
Had the sticker and everything?
Yeah, I used to rip around on that. But I got into the R6, the R1, the Gixxer with the S-Rad. Remember that one? It came with a nice tail.
Yep.
So just going everywhere, I wanted to just keep riding. And that's what I did. I had a couple of accidents on the street, and nothing major. Most of my other stuff happened on the racetrack. So good times.
Good.
I wouldn't trade it, man. It's been good. And even now, I'm in my. We talked. I'm 55. Getting up there, and I'm still riding, still helping people, as best I can. Right. I get called out a lot, hey man, you used to race. I go, yeah, I used to.
So when did you stop racing?
God, it was before we moved here, so 2016.
Oh, okay. So you just took a break. You're taking a break.
taking a break. Yeah.
Taking a break.
But when we moved here, we sold everything and came to New York. My sister said, "Hey man, you're all done with the Air Force, all that stuff." He goes, "Why don't you come back East Coast?"
Right.
And so we came back. I had nothing. We sold everything: bikes, dirt bikes, the diesel truck, all of it. Moved out here with our suitcases, and I was like, "How am I going to get back in this motorcycle scene?" And what happened was I went on Craigslist, and we're looking. It says Ducati test rider needed.
Wow.
I said, that's gotta be a scam. Doesn't that sound like a scam?
It sounds like a scam.
Yeah. So called up the number, sent my resume. All of a sudden I get this call from Ducati New York in Soho.
No
hey,
kidding.
we're very interested in your racing background, your mechanical background. We think you'd be a great fit. I was like, are you serious? I went there and I became Ducati New York's test rider.
And so what does that mean? You just get to test the bikes? Or
it's the coolest job on earth. Every bike that's brand new gets PDI'd. Every bike that gets serviced has to be test ridden a certain amount of miles.
Yeah.
So for every bike, so I got my regular pay, plus for every bike I rode, I got a stipend. So if I rode 15 bikes that day, I made a lot of money. And all I did was just ride around New York City.
Oh, that's dope.
It was the best job ever.
And it's all new bikes.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not that tall, you notice, right?
Yeah.
So you know the Multistrada Enduro?
Yeah.
It's like a 38-inch inseam height, right? So I'm what, 5'2"? I don't remember what I am. Anyway, they had me test ride that, and I know if I put my feet down, if I stopped, I'd fall over on this guy's bike. So I said, I got next to a UPS truck and I hit it. I go, hey man, can I put my foot on your tire? So that's what I did. At the stoplight, I rested my foot on the UPS truck. And then I just, got back as quick as I could. I said, bike's good.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you got to be creative, man.
But an Enduro down, man, that's a tall bike. So I had fun doing that. And what happened was, Rex, I also started cleaning bikes because during the downtime, I cleaned this customer's bike. He goes, man, that's really good. You should do something with that.
Right.
And that's what happened. I started doing that on the side, detailing bikes. And that's where 2Wheel Moto Detail was born on the side hustle.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's up. What's the coolest bike you've ridden at Ducati New York?
So Tricolore, when that first came out,
okay,
that nice bike. 916.
Wow.
That's a nice bike to ride. Just because, nostalgia and that bike being so awesome. And then a lot of the old ones. I like the classic, the Sport 1000. Got to ride a few celebrities' bikes. I won't mention it because I'm supposed to do, what do they call it? Not supposed to say. But there's a couple of celebrities' bikes that come through there, and I test them. It's kind of cool. I'll tell you those on the side.
There you go. That is pretty cool. And then, so did you start? Is that the thing that got you to say, "Hey, let me go buy a bike and start riding on the East Coast"? Or was that guy, Kevin? And Kevin for a while didn't ride. They used to, he has his own company now for Granite Cycles in Richmond, Raymond, New Hampshire, and but he used to ride customers bikes all the time. So he's like, I'm good with just riding customers bikes. So I don't not like he was cruising, but test riding.
I get
that he didn't need to ride. But then in the last couple of years, he's since bought bikes and riding again. So like what was the thing for you?
So what happened was they were talking about when the first year I was there at Ducati New York. They said, hey, we're doing a track day, and I said, oh, I don't have a bike, So they lent me a Hyper 6.9, the old 696 air cooled, and was ripping around on that at New York Safety Track. And I was like, okay, I'm back. That's it. So fast forward, got into the 899, the 959, Hyper 950, the 821. Got into the the 698 and the Panigale.
So from then, this is from 2016.
Yeah, this is all just Ducati bikes.
Like every year you get a new bike.
Now check this out. So I had a Yamaha FZ1. You remember that one? The old bike, the old FZ1?
Yep.
It's a naked bike, but has the R1 motor. A customer, I was picking up a bike for Ducati New York, and the customer had this ratted out FZ1. Goes, hey man, could you just take this out of my garage? Give me 300, it's yours. He goes, is it running? I said, he goes, well, it was, and I don't know what's wrong with it. So gave him money, brought it back, paid some of the mechanics. They got it running, and I flipped that bike, but I rode the heck out of it. I brought it to the track. I love old bikes. I don't know about you. I love it. It's got no anything on it, like no electronics really.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think only my Panigale, well, my KTM has electronics, but it's not. I don't. It's off. My 1198, it has. We talk. I wouldn't call that electronics. Like we talk.
Well, I told you when we were at the track, that was the first time riding the Panigale B4.
Yeah,
they had 1 mile on it.
I know, dude. That's pretty wild. That's
people
pretty
like,
wild.
You break them in on the track. I was like, yeah, just bring them there.
Yeah,
but that bike, the electronics of that bike. Oh my god.
I would be more. I think the brakes for me would be the bigger thing. The oldest bike I've owned was I guess 2006, 8.
Wow.
I guess 07. Well, I had a 2003 SV650 for a race bike.
Love that bike.
I guess that's the oldest bike.
That's a good bike.
So as long as the brakes are good, I'm okay. You know, I see some of these guys ride these vintage bike and they got drum brakes for up front.
Oh yeah, that right there. I'll draw the line. I'm not doing drum brakes.
Okay. So power to brake ratio.
Well, with the way you brake, man. I got to witness that. So yeah.
Yeah.
You're braking good, my friend.
Oh, I gotta get better.
We all do.
So was it because of Ducati New York? Why you? I mean, you already had a Ducati Monster before, but what was the catalyst to just say, "Hey, I'm only getting Ducatis"?
So like I said, I've ridden every
Since
brand,
2016,
raced every brand, and when I started riding the Ducati, I mean, the 2003 620 IE is a great bike, but when you go to 2017, fast forward, the bikes have evolved, and I've never ridden, bikes like that where, Panigale, something that costs more than my car, So yeah, most of them.
My truck.
I love the feel of the Ducati motor and the way they build the bike. You have, they always talk about the passion. They put it behind that because you can feel it when you're riding that motorcycle. Like, man, even the way it turns, the way it feels, the way it looks, everything's done. And I think Ducati has come a long way and said, you know what? Like we've been doing forever, let's just make this all encompassing and keep that going. And that's what they did. And I fell in love with it. In fact, I started talking so much at the store. They said, hey, why don't you be a salesman? So that's when I got into sales, selling Ducatis. And what I loved about selling Ducatis, because I rode Ducatis and I could tell people. I remember when I didn't own one at one time, they're like, well, you don't own one right now. So you know what you're talking about. So yeah, I love that part.
I think one of my biggest regrets so far in motorcycling is not racing the Ducati. And I've raced Yamahas, the SV, the KTMs, and all on the guise of I don't want to spend too much money. But you know what? You spend the same amount of money.
It's true.
It's like I'm like,
you are correct.
Yeah, I look at the numbers. I'm like, the same amount of money. What are we talking about? So that's my only regret. But from all of the, and I've had, I don't think I've had 8. Probably had like 6 Ducatis.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 848, 1198, the Hyperstrada, Multistrada, and now the Panigale. Right.
And which is your favorite? What's the favorite Ducati you rode?
So is this my 1198? My 1198 is by far the best. Like I love riding that bike. It feels like an extension of me. It's like, and I was gonna say all of them kind of do that. Like with Ducatis, I don't know. Whatever line I want to take, it's the line I take. I'm never like, oh, I turned in too soon. Oh, I turned in too. It's always right. Like the thing, even at Jersey, like turn 1, 2 into 3. What is it? 3 AB or 4 ABC or whatever. Like it just felt like one big arc. It's just like until I had to flick left. It's just like, and like my KTM, my R6 on that, like I'm always not like, not necessarily going straight, like kind of always like adjusting the line a little bit, and this thing just it just either it's adjusting to me or it's just not listening to me. I don't know.
Talk to me.
But so my 1198, but the Panigale, is I guess the difference would be riding something without electronics and riding something with I would say the older cars or bikes without tech. It's raw. It's what I'm used to. Yeah. So it's for me, it's refined, right? I don't think it's unrefined. I've heard people talk about how lumpy the bikes are, can be at low speeds and stuff like that. I don't see any of that. Like, I don't know. Like my clutch and throttle, like, it's fine. So like the Panigale is just so refined. It's almost like I think I want to change my last name to Rossi or something because I feel like I can do more than what I'm capable of doing because it's like at least with the 1198, it's like, you sure you want to do this? Yeah. Panigale is like, well, we're going to do it. We're going to be okay. We're going to do it.
We'll be okay.
So it's a toss up, but I still like the 1198 more because it's just and plus I'm a fan of the twins too.
Yeah, the twins amazing. Also, the what I had to get used to was the auto blipper, quick shifter.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this back in the day. When I got to the East Coast, we'd go into turn 1 at New York Safety. And a couple of my buddies that I ride with, they go, "Hey man, you got auto blipper on?" I go, "No, I'm the auto blipper." You go, "Man, it's really smooth." I go, "Well, it's kind of what I have to do because I don't have all those other things you have." So when I finally rode a bike with that, doing the the auto shifting and downshifting and it blips for you, that was weird for me. And now it's like, okay, now I could go into turns, drop 2 gears, and it does it for me. I go, okay, you got it, Ducati.
Yeah. Coming from cars and fan of standard shift and stuff like that. Like I didn't mind clutch and auto and matching the revs and stuff like that when I went on SV and stuff, and even my first R6. But once I got auto blip, it'll allow, especially, I mean, on the streets it doesn't. I don't think it matters, but on the track, it's just like one less thing your brain have to deal with.
True.
And then the least amount of things you have to deal with on a track, the better. Because when you can just ride, you don't have to think about like maybe 1 or 2. Just entry, break in, entry, apex, and exit. Life is easy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you and you don't think it's a big deal when you've been doing it all your life, but then all of a sudden you just don't even have to think about
it. That's a good way to put it. Shoot. Yeah, I'm happy with the way motorcycling has evolved. I'm doing a lot of track events. Also, I go to a lot of the bike nights, and I don't even bring a bike. Like I told you, I was headed out to that roof taco night.
Yeah, yeah.
Over in White Plains, New York. Went out there. It was awesome. I brought the family out, and a lot of bikes showed up, and it was amazing. I just love talking to people and listening, kind of like what we talked about when you told me about your podcast. I was like, man, I love that you're bringing just regular guys, that ride. And I'm that guy. I'm your average Joe rider, and it's neat that you're doing that. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of other things that I've seen, where people just talk to other people and say, hey man, what got you into this? Because that's the story.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, it's when I started it, I got it from, coming from the radio show I used to do, interviewing artists and stuff like that. So I just figured like, okay, let's interview writers and stuff. But after doing it and just hearing people's story, because like at the track, you may talk to other writers and stuff like that. But we all kind of focus on our own thing at the track. We're all pretty much trying to stay locked in. Maybe after the race is over, we'll chop it up. And maybe after a few rounds, you may get familiar with certain people. So maybe you might gravitate to chopping it up with certain people. But like this, it's just kind of like you hear people's story. And it's just like, it's so dope. And I don't think, I didn't get that from the track because again, we don't have enough time, in that moment to, I don't know. I'm at the track. I kind of keep my head down and the tent's closed.
Talking about that, a lot of guys and girls that ride and they're talking about, they love the speed the speed for me, racing and riding. It was never about speed. Going fast is easy, just twist that throttle. But what gets me all crazy and jazzed up about riding is getting the turn right.
Yeah.
Getting it set up and then knowing when you blew it, and say, okay, I know what I did, so I'm going to come around again and do it right. And then I love listening to other people like you or me, when, someone tells me, hey man, I was watching you. Yeah. I think you could do this. This might get you through that turn better. And no matter what age you are in the motorcycle industry, you always can learn. Always learn, right? And that's, I ran into that kid from the track that we were helping out, Dylan.
Yeah.
F4 Formula One car racer.
Yeah.
That guy, Barry, dragged his knee that day for the first time.
I know.
Never been on a motorcycle on a track. I ran into him at that bike night.
Oh, no kidding.
And he goes, oh, he was talking and I was talking about him and he goes, no, this is the guy. And I know this is the guy. And he goes, no, man, all I had to do was listen. And to hear that from a kid that young,
right,
it's never been on track. And he says, yeah, I listen to everybody talking, including you. You were getting pointed. And he listened. And that's right there. When you see other people get it, that's cool.
Right. And, and I think that's the part about motorcycling that we don't get. It's like that. It's the details, right? Because it's the details that makes us faster. And like when Dylan, we're showing him stuff and he's like just picking it up and then he's going out there and trying it and coming back. And that was pretty impressive because in every sport, in everything, it's the details, right? I mean, it sounds simple, but that's the difference between the regular people and the great who pays attention to just the small things, because we're all pretty much competitive in everything we do in life. But it's we stand out by who just pays a little bit more close attention to those details, and it was cool. It was cool to see and see you guys, and even myself. I try to add a little bit when I can to the motorcycling community, because that's what I think that's what's not necessarily missing, because I've seen it grown since I've gotten into it. But that's we like the U.S. needs to get the motorcycling community like Europe and not the rest of the world, but most of the world.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So that's what's up. So now, so you got back into bikes, and you're also doing track days and training people and coaching and stuff like that. So like, you got the hyper and went to the track and then bought 8 bikes. So
and not all, I don't have them all right now.
Now
I'm down to literally my Panigale and a TTR 110, which is my son's learning bike.
Yeah.
So
So what got you into coaching and doing more track days? Yeah.
And the coaching part, I was just started helping people out at track days. I wasn't really, no one was putting a vest on me or anything. I was just helping people out, and then started going around that, hey, there's this guy, he likes to help people. And now it's really nice. And I'm humbled by it. A lot of the track day events invite me to come out and help. And that's what I do. I'm not the fastest guy out there. I'm not the best guy, but I'll help somebody and help them reach some goals. And that's a reward for me, And that's what got me into it. I remember when I went out, no one was talking to me when I first went out ever to a track. And I was like asking people, they, oh, you'll figure it out. And then you get some people like, no, man, here's what you do in this turn, and you get that. And people need that, someone to say, hey, let me hold your hand for a little bit,
right?
Show you the line, and then a lot of the riders that go out there and learn from you or me, or they end up being faster, because they know how to listen, and I think that's neat. So.
Yeah, it is neat when people can listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that instance of learning, but in life. Because,
yeah. Well, if you get someone who says, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
okay. All right, all right.
And because and I laugh because I think about my daughter who she plays tennis. And one of the last times, I was trying to correct something she was doing in her forearm swing, and she's how kids can be.
Yes.
They're listening, but they ain't looking, they ain't acknowledging, they ain't doing anything. And then it was like 2 days later, one of her coaches said the same thing, and so it was kind of rewarding it. She was like, oh, okay, so. I do know something, even though I'm not hitting the ball as hard as you and running as fast as you or doing any of those things. I might know a little something. So listening is important, and I think sometimes when young people see people who may not be performing at that level, they think that okay, well, they have nothing to teach. And that's not the case. You don't have to be you don't have to hit like Mike Tyson to teach Mike Tyson.
Well, there's a hitter right there. That's an extreme one, but yeah, that's a hard hitter right there. But,
so that's interesting. So you got into coaching and doing that stuff. Now, for me, I started racing in 2013, and I guess my first track day was getting my license with Penguin. After that, I didn't do any track days until I think 2019. So you as a racer doing track days, is that giving you everything you need?
No. So thank you. I was waiting for this question. I love racing, and I talk to a lot of people at tracks that ride track, and they're like, is it different? I said, it is different. And I think you'll agree. Track day and racing are two different things. When you're racing, you're on that line. I love that when everyone's the flag goes. Now it's a light, but whatever it is, and that adrenaline, everybody diving into turn one together. That right there, I miss it. I just miss racing, man. I'll just tell you that. Thanks a lot. You okay? But
here's your back though, right?
I don't. Yeah, I already talked to my wife. She says, "Well, why aren't you?" And I said, well, life, and yeah, I'll go back, and it won't be on a Panigale V4. Trust me.
No,
it'll be on something a lot smaller. I don't care. Now, this is another thing I told people. It doesn't matter what you're racing. You'd be racing a skateboard against another 5 skateboards, and racing is racing. But something about a motorcycle, I want to do it again. And so I'll tell you what. When I saw you and met you and looked. I researched you on the your B4evaKool and all that. This guy's still racing. We're about the same age. I can still do it.
That's right.
So just tell me to do it, man. I'll do it.
Listen, man. You already know Nike, man. No, I feel the same. It's something like I wanted, I tell some people, I don't tell everyone. But I wanted to race cars when I was younger. So racing, like you say, I remember in Jamaica, we used to race around the church and whatever. The fastest, I don't care what it is. Competition is I was that competitive, still competitive. So to be able to do it later in life and to do it and to do it as long as I've been doing it so far, and been fortunate because I've been able to. I think I've been 17 tracks in the U.S. Yeah, and in 2019 I was only at Loudon.
Okay.
So
which is an amazing track.
Yes. Yeah. Listen. Loudon made me who I am. So
the saying, right? They say you can ride Loudon. You can ride Loudon. You can ride anywhere.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I heard the late great Nikki Hayden said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but being able to go to different tracks and just yeah, it's fun. I mean, at my age, I'm not looking to go anywhere other than just be competitive and go out and try to be the best version of myself for that weekend or that day or whatever the case may be. But no, it's something that I hope to do, for another 20 plus years if I could. I'm an 80-year-old dude.
They might have Formula 80. You never know. Is there a Formula 50 still? I don't even look at that. Is there?
I don't know. I think there was, but I don't know if there's one anymore. I think it's just 40 and above. If you're 40 and above, you're in Form. Because I don't know if Neymar still had it, but they even had a Formula 60 class at Loudon.
Really?
Yeah. So they had 50 and 60. I'd have to check the rule books and or the different race classes to see if there's a 60. Because I know when John Grush, and when he turned 60, I think he turned 60 and jumped up and I think that's when they created that class or something like that.
That guy's so fast
about the details. Oh yeah,
John Grush, yeah. Eric Wood, fast. All these guys.
So no, it's definitely. I'm not going to race my Panigale. I probably might not even race my R6. I'll probably just race either twins or I should say lightweight or small bikes. Just because there's no need.
I think I'm headed that direction. Smaller, even lightweight supermoto something.
Yeah,
just say, hey man, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and a KTM or Ninja 400 is a fun bike. I mean, it's not like you're not having fun ripping around the track. I didn't come off the track and like, oh man, this is awful.
Well, like I said, you could be going 90 miles per hour, and if you're racing somebody, it's fun. Exactly. I mean, just to also, when you're racing, you got 5 people going to the same place in the corner, and you get it right and come out in front. You're like, yeah, that's cool. I love it.
It is cool. It's cool when you're up front and you're battling. Not as cool in the back, but nonetheless,
still racing, man.
It's still racing. Hey, listen, I was in the back for a while. So I know I don't want to go back there. I've been for so long.
You know what's nice when you're lap traffic by the finish line and it's the last lap. Look like you were there.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when you're not getting lapped.
No, I know.
That's like, oh, I didn't get lapped this race.
That's gonna be me when I come back and be like, okay, let's go. But I'm inspired again, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And I'll say right here on your podcast, I'm gonna come back.
Nice.
Do some racing, man. It's in my blood. It's always been. I race Hondas, and I told you I used to have the CRX and the Civics and all that racing in Long Beach by Terminal Island. Fast and Furious. And when that came out, I was like, whatever, we've done that. I'm not Vin Diesel, but hey, I get it. Nah, but man, cool stuff.
When that came out, I had a Volkswagen, so I was.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I wasn't impressed.
Scirocco had a Scirocco. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Listen, I almost got one. I almost got one.
Carbon edition, 16 valve with the 16V on the side. Remember that?
Yep. You already know. But not to get off the weeds and jump into cars too much, but if it wasn't for like Volkswagens, I don't know if the Hondas would have taken off because everybody was doing Volkswagens back in the day.
Do you still now back to bikes? Other than Ducatis, I still like other brands. I like they all have their own characteristics. But one thing about Honda, that's a smooth bike. I remember my first CBR. They were the old the F1, the F2s.
F3s.
They were smooth, cool bikes and fun bikes. You throw right on the track.
I like all. I like all brands. In a perfect world, I'll have as many Porsches as Jerry Seinfeld and one of every bike. So, I'm a fan of KTMs. I have 2 KTMs. I have 2 Yamahas. I have 2 Ducatis. And I'd love to get some other brands if I in the future. So I'm a fan of bikes. I'm a fan of cars. Bicycles, anything with wheels, just about, except for actually I like skateboards too. So anything with wheels.
Skateboard's cool. Look, now you're jumping out of the weeds into the skateboards. Huh?
I skateboard a little, but
now you raced BMX, Rex?
No, I didn't race. I didn't race BMX, but I was pretty competitive in my neighborhood with tricks and jumping over all type of stuff and all that.
You tabletops?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was good on a mountain bike too. When you're riding motorcycles, it kind of translates, especially if you're doing dirt bikes also.
Yeah.
We used to go to the desert all the time during the winter in California because you can. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I did a lot of my stuff, learning how to slide and things like that. And that's another thing. Perishable skills, if you don't do it enough, it's just going to go away. And
right, yeah, and learning how to slide is important, especially in motorcycle racing. And that's my. So I do have a trail bike, and I've been trying to get into that more lately. But that's the thing. When I was younger, I wanted to get into dirt bike riding, but my parents was like not having it. So.
Oh, they didn't want you doing that either, huh?
No. And my mother was probably right. I probably would have killed myself. So because I was the kid that on the block would be the first one to try it. So
speaking of wheelies, I didn't really wheelie a lot until I got maybe in the 2000s, where I started saying, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I 12 o'clock my R1. I saw a picture of it too. And
nice.
But then it went 1 o'clock, 2.
Oh well, yeah. That's so.
I crashed it, and I stopped doing them for a while. I was like, I'm not gonna do it on my sport bikes anymore.
Yeah, I was pretty good at wheeling on bicycles, but bikes. I didn't want to drop a bike, learning how to wheelie, and so it's one of those things. I'm like, maybe I should get like a small dirt bike, whatever. And just go practice something I can drop a bunch of times and not worry about it. But I wasn't ready to drop one of those bikes to just trying to wheel it. So if the front wheel comes up, I could deal with it.
Yeah, front wheel comes up, that's cool, and that feels good. Like a power wheelie,
and I can bring it up and all that. But you're gonna have to drop the bike one time, at least one time. So at least, and a lot of people that learn how to ride wheelie, they're dropping the bike at least 10, 15 times.
Yes,
before they get it right. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to be doing that on the streets, and it's fine. I kick my leg out at the end of a race. I don't have to do it.
No, you don't. So man, I'm headed. I know we talked about it. I'm headed to the Warhorse HSBK opener in Poconos. I love that. That track is fun.
I've heard. I haven't been.
It's a fun track. Probably not the best track for a V4, but it's still fun. There's a lot of the banking, things like that, and so that's my next track day. But I hope to see you at one again.
Yeah, we'll talk and figure that out, because I definitely want to do some up there. I don't plan on taking like the V4 to any small tracks. In all honesty, if it's not a bigger track, I'll take one of the smaller bikes. It doesn't.
Coda, right?
I'm taking it. I'm taking it to Coda and Laguna Seca this year.
Oh.
So I think those will be the 2 tracks this year, and we'll see what happens next year.
You never
know. I might actually do. I think you were talking about going to Daytona, so I might do. If you go to Daytona,
no, I will be because that's Ducati Revs. So a lot of Penguin runs those. Ducati Revs.
Yep.
So I help out all the time with that tech registration. Then I do some coaching and then ride. Yep. So I'm definitely be there, and I'll be. Your phone will be ringing.
So say less, man. We'll make that happen. So, man, I want to thank you for coming on and tell people how they can find you, your 2-wheel motor details, because that's the one thing I hate doing the bikes, man, cleaning them. So one
Oh,
thing, my bikes are always dirty because I'm riding them. And
I just did a bike on Sunday. It was you ever heard of David Blaine, the magician?
yeah,
I did his bike.
wait a
And
second. He's not a good musician. He couldn't make the dirt disappear.
That's what I said. See, you already took the joke. I saw him. I said, "Hey, man, he goes, well, what are you going to do?" I go, "I'm going to make the dirt disappear." He goes, "Oh, man." If you had a dime for every time he's heard that, right?
Oh,
that guy's a writer.
Yeah.
But the detail thing, 2Wheel Moto detail, that's evolved into something really cool. And you see my logo on the back. I drew that logo a long time ago, and I've gotten some people tell me now, "Hey, man, you should really like make that more modern." I go, "Why? I like that's the number 2 is in there. See it? Yeah. Come on." I told you when I started that side thing, I had a one of them garden pumps. That was my pressure washer. Yeah, it was the worst. But people now I have a setup. It's real. It's a biz, So,
listen, it is what it is, right? As long as the bikes are clean, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So that's what's up. And then how can they find you on social media?
So it's if you go to Instagram, it's 2Wheel Moto Detail NYC, and hit me up if you need your bike clean in New York area, and also at the tracks. If you see me at the track, I bring all my stuff and we'll gladly wipe your bike down or whatever. Hopefully, make it slower if we're racing. Just kidding, but yeah. And thanks, Rex, for having me on the show. I really appreciate this. It's amazing. I was watching a bunch of videos and I was like, "Man, this is a really cool show." So yeah, you're forever cool in my book.
Oh, that's what's up, man. That's what we're trying to do. Make everybody.
Yeah. So thank you, man, for letting me tell my story and what's going on. And this is exciting to me. I was already ready an hour before this. So I was like, man, I can't wait to talk about bikes with this guy.
Nice.
So,